if you're talking about 15, 20 years ago, we're talking about a time too when like there wasn't LED lighting wasn't a thing. You were working with a lot of hot lights back then, heavy lights. Was there a light that you remember that you were just like you hated working with, or you just hated having to deal with half the time, that you're just grateful was no longer a part of the?
No, I love lights.
Really? Okay.
I loved lights. I loved heavy cable.
The Ruby 7.
Okay, maybe. No, I shouldn't say that.
This is a recurring light.
No, I used to know the guy who invented that. I'm not going to say that.
I love that light.
No, I didn't. No, I really love machines that do one thing and do one thing really well. I love, like, I'm like the handyman for my family. It's like, oh, the toaster's broken. Like, I'll open it up and fix it. And I feel the same way about
awesome.
like lights and electricity. And I always found it fascinating. I couldn't still do what I did in my 20s, just like physically. Like, I couldn't be like lifting maxis on my own anymore. There's no way.
Yeah.
So, and I'm grateful that like I don't have to always ask my crews to do that, you know, now that we have more gadgets and things. But you know, like when it comes to like, you know, wanting to paint a whole room for a sunny look, it's like, you know, on a budget, like I'm still going to order a maxi. And I do. Those are great lights.
Yeah. Is there a light you missed that you probably can't get anymore? Or are they all still around?
I think they're still around and they're much cheaper.
Yeah.
You know, like tungsten heads are cheap. You just need to make sure you got the generator to run them.
And the people to carry them.
Par lens HMIs. Whenever those show up on set, you're like, oh, we're the fifth show in town right now. They don't have any M series right now.
Do you think anyone still has like the Desisti Fresnel like HMI? I guess I didn't like that light. I'll say that.
I mean, Castle Rock was 7 years ago at this point, but we had the Par 6K, 9K, and then we were putting chimeras on them on lifts. And so it's like, oh, you need to change the lens inside the chimera while you're 50 feet in the air. Like, hope you brought your gloves. Like,
tell someone to throw them up too.
That was the last time I think I touched anything like that.
I guess I don't miss cracking lenses and bulbs at wrap. You know, on a rainy. Ugh, I remember doing that. And I remember the theory of like, well, if you leave the scrims in, it'll protect it, it'll let it cool down slower. But then it was like, oh no, if you leave the scrims in and it's touching it, it'll make a crack. It was like this mystery of like, you could like, I mean, the L&D was like.
I feel like that is like the biggest, I'm going to say superstition. I don't think that's really it, but there's like these weird kind of like, if our light won't strike, my best boy, he always said, spin around once, stay backwards and lift your left leg. And 90% of the time it strikes when you do that. And we're like, all right, that's just our fucking cruise thing now. Like it's so weird. Or it's like there's that little pin on the inside of it. Like you have to make sure that's
the micro
like,
switch.
Yeah, like just these stupid things, like just open it and close it again. Like, did you turn it off and turn it back on? But it's a real solution. Like
the AD is going, Bert, what the fuck's going on with your best boy? And he's like, no, let him finish. Let him finish.
It is interesting though, because it's like in the electric world, it's like a lot of the Teamsters, they either like being the shooting electrics or they hate being the shooting electrics, depending if they like the hours. Because a lot of like new people, they don't understand like, oh yeah, dude, we're last ones out because it takes an extra 45 minutes for this 18K bulb to cool down. Like,
wow.
Like
one of my proudest moments was the first feature I was best electric on. We were like way upstate, like almost near the border of Canada in the Adirondacks. And we were mostly in this one house for the whole thing. But we had stuff spread out around the woods in the house. And, we were doing overnights and like muddy pits. And I mean, it was rough. But the day before we've been doing an SFX unit in literally like blowing up mud in like November upstate, freezing. It was miserable, but obviously like sound's not needed for that. So they were wrapped out hours ago, and we like got back at 3 a.m. All of us like got back to the like lodge we were all staying at, and they're sitting there with beers on the porch, being like, "Last in, first out," and we were like, "Oh fuck you guys." And so the next day, I was like, okay, I'm going to wrap electric out so fast. I had us prepped, like I had like, the cello and like the bag for the head, like I had like all the weatherproofing ready for the heads because we were leaving like the big HMI heads around.
Walk away.
Yeah, walk away. But we were pulling the ballast into the truck and, we had the tow plant. And so at wrap, I was like, okay, Dan, you do this. And like, Sam, you go to this head. And then okay, tell me when the heads are off. And the second all the heads were off, like I idled the Jenny. And I knew I had to idle it for 10 minutes or whatever. And then I was like, when the heads are cool, bag them, bring the ballot. You know, like I've like talking about AD logistics.
Yeah.
It was like, what's the most efficient way?
Yeah.
Yes.
And we had the truck buttoned up. We were in the van in 12 minutes.
That's awesome.
What?
And then we were all of us electric sitting in the van, and then sound climbs in, and when they look up, they're like, oh shit, what? Like their minds were blown. They're like, what is going on? And
I'm surprised you didn't just like leave and flip them off as you pass by. Like, see you, bitches.
Yeah, no, but we all go last in, first out. And I was like, oh, I felt so good.
But then they expect you to do that every day for the rest of the shoot. You're like, no, that was a special.
One time moment,
Yeah.
yeah.